I've got a mock Lions trade for you, Kyle. I'll just rip it off and tell you what it is, and then I'll dive into why I like it and why I don't like it, because I think it totally depends on your perspective. So this was introduced by Eric Edholm, NFL.com. Okay, it involves trading Sam LaPorta to Washington to move up from pick 17 to pick 7. You also get a 2027 third-round pick and tight end Ben Sinnott back in return. You have to give up Sam LaPorta, the 17th pick, but you're getting the 7th back. And you're also giving up a 6th-round pick. But like I said, you get the 3rd-round pick next year. So you move up 10 spots in the first round, swap tight ends, and go from a 6th to a 3rd-round pick. What's your just initial reaction when you hear all that?
I don't really want to trade Sam LaPorta while his trade value is probably at its lowest. I think that would be my immediate reaction.
It's a fair reaction.
Because, like you said, it depends on your perspective. You could take the perspective of the most important thing in the trade is that you're moving up. Like, you are potentially upgrading at whatever first-round pick that you're going to draft. My initial reaction is you're losing a really good player in Sam LaPorta. Like, that's where I immediately go.
I think there's two mindsets you can have when you're thinking about this trade in the offseason in general. If your entire goal this year is to win a Super Bowl, then you don't make this trade. You keep Sam LaPorta, you keep an all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber player, and you keep the best collection of players you can and try to go get this thing. But I think a lot of Lions fans understand the Lions going into the year on paper have taken a little bit of a step backwards. Right now, it feels hard to convince myself that they are a Super Bowl contending team, considering last year they simply were not, and it's not like they've made some massive improvements this offseason, which would make me think maybe the goal this year shouldn't be all in on a Super Bowl, and it should be doing what Brad Holmes has expressed, and that would be extending the window. And if the goal is to keep this long, sustainable window open, this trade makes a lot of sense. You move off of Sam LaPorta before you have to pay him. I'm telling you guys right now, the Lions aren't going to be able to pay all 4 guys from that 23 draft class. LaPorta, Branch, Jack Campbell, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Odds of being able to pay all 4 of those guys when you're already paying Hutch, Amon-Ra, Jared Goff, Sewell, McNeil, already paying all the Kirby Joseph. You're not going to be able to pay everybody. So it does make me think, okay, let's move off of Sam LaPorta so you don't have to pay him. You get younger in doing so by bringing in whoever via the draft to play tight end. You get younger at that position. You take a little bit of a step back in terms of the productivity. You also can go get your left tackle of the future or your right tackle of the future at pick 7 and feel really good about it and basically get your choice of who it is, with the exception of maybe one tackle that's already off the board, whether that be to Arizona or Cleveland. If the goal is to extend the window and have this sustainable success model that Brad Holmes has talked about, I think this trade makes a lot of sense. Sam LaPorta, when he gets extended, whoever that's going to be, it's going to be about $17 to $21 million per season for 4 years. That's about what he's going to be making. I just don't think the Lions can afford to do that. And if they are going to do that, somebody else is not getting paid, whether that's Branch or Gibbs or Campbell. If that's the perspective you want to take, I think this trade does make sense. The only thing I'd push back on is I'd wish we were getting a little bit more in return versus a third-round pick next year. I'd like a third-round pick this year if we're being picky about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions need as many picks they can get.
I don't
currently
hate this, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. If that's the perspective that you're taking, not being all in for 2026, when in reality, if you go all in this year, it still might not be enough.
Sure, I guess I could be, like, you're doing a good job convincing of why you don't hate it, because most of these trade proposals that come out are just terrible. They're always just like,
here's Jack Campbell 2 first. Let's go get Myles
Garrett, Jahmyr Gibbs trade. You know, like, what are we doing? So, like, yeah, it makes sense from the perspective of, like, there are so many guys that the Lions need to pay. They can't pay them all. We've talked about it. You know, like, who are they going to prioritize from the class out of the 4 elite players that they drafted? Which ones are going to get paid first? We assume that Jack Campbell for sure is getting paid.
Yes.
We assume that Jahmyr Gibbs at least isn't getting traded. You know, like I don't know about
got rid of Montgomery.
Right.
Not trading both
I don't know about the route of him getting paid. I don't know what that necessarily looks like yet.
But you can, with him being a first
certainly
round pick,
he's a part of the team. Yes.
Right. You can kick this paying Jahmyr Gibbs contract thing down the road for 4 more years.
And the Branch thing is just like why would you trade a guy that is coming off of a major injury?
Sam LaPorta's not coming off a minor injury.
But like, is his as you're right. I mean, his is a question
it's
mark.
It's a back
injury.
Sure. That's
you're right.
Scary.
The reason why I will just be like, I just don't love this deal is as simple as just moving up 10 spots in the draft guarantee that you're extending the Super Bowl window just because you have a better chance at drafting a left tackle that you like a little bit more, I guess, or a right tackle if we're moving Penei Sewell over. Yeah. Like, to me, it just feels if you're not trading, if I'm trading Sam LaPorta, I want the best tackle in the class. Mm-hmm. I want the number 1 tackle in the class. You're not getting that at pick 7. Maybe you're getting the guy that you like a lot, or you're getting a guy that you like more that you for sure wouldn't get at pick 17. But if I'm trading a player as good as LaPorta, who you and I both know is an all-pro caliber tight end when he's healthy, of course the when he's healthy is there, I want the best tackle in the class. I want to be moved up to a spot where I know I'm getting that guy, or I'm getting enough pick capital in return where it's truly worth it. And to answer your question about like, well, you can't pay everybody, so you have to do something. You don't just want to make Sam LaPorta walk. You can't pay everybody? Are we sure about that?
He's done it, but we're talking about
Brad
Holmes
here. Has paid everybody so far. Like, I will refuse to say you can't pay everybody until you literally can't, because
you couldn't pay Anzalone.
I'm not counting him. Draft picks, guys that have been drafted. You know, like that. That's what it's. Those are the guys that when I say you can't pay everybody, right? Isn't that kind of how we're operating?
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
You're right about Anzalone, yes, but
like they are running into situations where they're unable to pay people right now. But you're right. All the guys that they've drafted, they've been able to retain
extend
thus
I guess.
far.
Correct.
The fact that there's 4 of them that could potentially get a contract this offseason, it just gets really scary really fast. All the points you're making about if we're going to trade LaPorta, I want the best tackle in the draft. I want more draft capital. That all makes sense, and I'm not telling you that you're wrong about this. I think this trade is fascinating because depending on your perspective on how good the Lions are now and how much of a position they are in right now to win a Super Bowl, completely changes on whether or not you think that this is a good trade or not. I do agree with you, though. If they were to make this trade, I'd be asking for a little bit more than next year's 3rd-round pick from Washington. I'd be asking for a 2nd. I'd probably settle on a 3rd. I just can it be this year? Can we get a little bit more? Can we get a 4th-round pick in there as well? You know, and you're right. I don't think it does guarantee them getting the best tackle in the draft class because I think that person probably goes number 3 to Arizona, whoever that ends up being, unless they take an edge rusher and it ends up being David Bailey. But either way, like Cleveland on the board at 6 could very well take a
New York.
Could take a tackle. I don't think New York would take a tackle. They've got a fine offensive line, but
could.
You never know. If it falls that way where a tackle still is not on the board or not off the board and Washington's pick rolls around and they called Brad Holmes and they make this trade, you really got to think about it. Like you've got 10 minutes you better know an answer going into it if that situation happens. It'd be really tempting to do it. To know, hey, this is a contract that we don't have to worry about. We're going to get a little bit younger at this position. Is it a hit? Obviously, like, do we get worse? Yes, we do. But that's what they did with the Montgomery situation, right? They knew they were going to get worse, but they get some players back in return.
This is more amplified.
Sure, it is. And we saw what sort of impact the Lions offense had when Sam LaPorta was out last year, you know. But again, like, if they can find another tight end that they like, day 2 or 3 of the draft, probably a day 3 type of thing, and it allows them to get the best tackle in the draft class, which most likely doesn't happen, but let's say for this sake, like, no tackle goes off the board and when this pick is on the clock and Washington calls. You got to have a really serious conversation fast. It's not like a hang up the phone, of course we're not trading Sam LaPorta, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough question marks currently with Sam LaPorta that make this make sense, right? Are we going to be able to pay Sam LaPorta?
Are you healthy?
Question mark. Is he healthy? Question mark.
Is there long-term concerns with his
right?
back?
Like the fact that now there's also the one that might outweigh all of those is like, is this guy a really good player?
Yes.
You know, like that. Yes, that's not a question, but there's enough question marks where it makes sense. You know, you and I have discussed like what is the next era of Brad Holmes look like? He was in the era of drafting all these really elite players, and we've compared him to these other GMs and these other franchises in the NFL, and you see them have to make these tough decisions of actually trading their good players away. We haven't really seen Holmes be put in that position. Of course, the Montgomery thing, like we can say that was maybe step one of this. Is this potentially step two of the next era of Brad Holmes, where you have to kind of figure out to be we have too many good players. Sometimes you have to cut ties with some of them. It hurts,
Look
but
what the Chiefs just did with McDuffie.
Exactly.
It's a perfect. It's a different position, of course, but right before they had to give him a contract, this is an all-pro player, Trent McDuffie. They trade him to the Rams because they need a little bit more draft capital because they understand, hey, this isn't going to be our year with Mahomes out. Lions are in a slightly different situation because it's not like they're rolling into the season with their quarterback hurt, but you look around the NFC and it's like, man, I don't think we can beat Seattle right now. I don't think we can beat the Rams right now. What if we just collected a little bit more draft capital, got our left tackle the future, and all of a sudden we extend that window that Brad Holmes has talked about maybe more than anything. He's always said we don't want to be all in to ever win a Super Bowl in one singular season. And there's been pushback from fans about that, of course. Look where they are now without even having that mindset. They lack draft capital. I know they have a ton of day 3 picks. I don't care about the 6th-round picks, though. They don't have a 3rd-round pick. They have 2 picks in the top 100. Here's a chance to kind of make up for that and have extra draft capital after this year's draft, you know? I think this is really interesting. I want to get people's thoughts on this.